All right. What's going on, everyone? It's Omar Almodovar here with Elite Recruits. In today's video, we have a very special player of ours who just went through his recruiting process and is headed off to school now this fall. We're going to talk about his recruiting journey, what he learned in the transfer portal, but also what advice he has for guys going through the process themselves. Take it away, man. What's your name? Where are you from? And what school were you at? And where are you going now?
Yeah, my name's Zack Wallace. I'm from McDonough, Georgia. I'm going to be a junior this upcoming year, and I was at Mercer University.
Sweet, sweet. So yeah, let's take it back right away. So before we started working together, what was going on with, your baseball journey, your recruiting process, and like what did you feel like you needed help with at that point?
Yeah, so I came off of TJ. I got surgery last year, and I already knew it was going to be tough for me going into the portal because I haven't really got much college playing time. So I went straight to you guys because I knew that, you know, I needed exposure somehow, some way.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Now, obviously, being a guy, coming off of injury and still rehabbing and ramping up, that makes it difficult for your process. Outside of that, right? Like, what did you feel like was also, holding you back from, talking to schools, getting offers? Like, where did you feel like you needed the most help?
I feel like connection wise, I mean, obviously there was a couple places I talked to, before I committed to Mercer, but contacts wise, I didn't have a lot of schools and anything that I could just reach out to directly, and they knew me, I knew them to make it really easy.
100%. So I remember like once we got started, we talked about, like what your goals were, right? We put together game
Yeah.
plans like, okay, how can we help you achieve those goals that you have? Talk a little bit about how important it was for you to, like actually have a game plan and have guidance rather than just trying to figure it out on your own.
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest things because we sat down, we made a whole plan. If I didn't have anything to go off of, I would just be sending random emails to random coaches, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't really know what I'm doing. So that was a really important part for me, just like knowing what to say, in the right moments, and what to put out there.
For sure. Now I remember we connected. It was early in the process, but the portal had already opened and you're already, trying things. Talk a little bit about the results once we got to work. Like what actually happened for you and what changed, with the attention you were getting from coaches.
I mean, it's night and day, really, because I had maybe a couple schools talking to me, nothing really serious, but I mean, as soon as I joined, like it was just everybody was reaching out.
100%. And the biggest thing too that I will say, and kudos to you because you're a guy that you understood what was important, right? And at this point in your career, you need to throw innings, right? You need to get a lot of playing time. And you were not a guy that was just stuck on D1 or nothing. You were talking to pretty good D2 programs in Florida,
Yeah,
in state, in South Carolina, and you're open to those opportunities. So you were getting traction. You still ended up at a D1 school, but you were open to other opportunities. Why that's important is because a lot of guys they just bank on a D1 school. They don't talk to anybody else or pay anybody else attention. And then if that doesn't come to fruition, they end up getting stuck, right? You had a lot of
exactly.
attention, and by you actually talking to the D2 schools and being genuinely interested in those, that's what ultimately allowed a D1 to pull the trigger on you, knowing that you had other options on the table. So that's very, very
Yeah,
good on your end.
100%.
Let me ask you this. So a lot of players watching this, right? They might wonder what it's actually like inside Elite Recruits, being inside the program. How would you describe for you, the support, the communication, and your overall honest experience?
Oh, I mean, the communication was the best. I had any question about, coach texts me, I'm like, Omar, what do I say right here? It's
Yes, sir.
like whatever, whenever, like you were always available, no matter what. Super easy to contact you, and we could get in touch.
100%. And I appreciate that. And again, like that's
Yeah.
something that it's easy for me because I care, right? Like I was just on your side of it, going through the portal, knowing how difficult it is. I understand how important of a decision that is for you. So it makes it like I'm glad almost so go out of my way to help you as fast as possible because I was going through it too, and I wish I had that same type of help.
Yeah.
So at first, when we connected, right, this is something that you had never done before. Were you unsure at first about working with somebody online that you never met or paying for recruiting help? And like, what changed your mind?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was pretty skeptical about it,
Yeah,
especially coming from the parents too. My mom, she was like, "Oh goodness, I don't know about this one." But no, I mean, I reached out to like five different guys that have been through it before, and they said nothing but great things. So I knew there was no way, nothing was going on there. So
100%. And
I was
now,
in it.
yeah, now coming on the other side of it and being an alumni, if there's somebody watching this, right, and they need help and they're still on the fence about it, like, what would you tell them?
I mean, it's really the difference of, do you want to keep playing college baseball, where do you want to be? Because, I know 100% I would not be where I want to be right now. I would be probably at a program that I wouldn't be enjoying, and now going with you guys, like, I'm at somewhere where I'm actually going to enjoy playing in a school that I would actually like.
100%. And then I'll add to this that, somebody might be watching this and they think, oh, they just get to work with me and then magic happens. That's not how it is. That's not reality.
Yeah.
There was ups and downs, right? There was
Yeah.
times where, there was a school that you're interested in and they showed a little bit of communication and then that went away. Now that you ended up at the right fit and in a place that you're happy at, what would you say is like the biggest piece of advice that you would leave a guy with going through the process?
You got to be diligent with, sending out stuff, because if you're not constantly staying on top of your stuff, like, granted, you do your part, but I also have to do my part. It's,
100%.
like, there's no just sitting back and just letting everything come to you. You gotta keep reaching out. You gotta keep, promoting yourself.